Hi, and welcome to Sheila's Poetry Corner. My name is Sheila Robinson, and I would like to read a poem to you that I wrote called Dear Mom. This poem is dedicated to all the little girls that still exist and many women today, troubled, still haunted by a past experience that happened when they were a little girl, betrayed by the very person that they were supposed to be able to trust, their father. Dear Mom, if you could read this letter, you would know why I had to go. There was an ugly family secret, one that you and I both know. I grew up thinking that it was all my fault. He said you would stop loving me if we ever got caught. I was only 7 years old when he first touched me there. He said this was how little girls showed their fathers they really cared. I felt so confused. I didn't know where to turn. I thought I would die and go to hell, and my soul would forever burn. Even though I'm all grown up now, the scars of guilt still remain. The many times my eye cried in silence, your eyes, all I saw was fear and shame. Dad really hurt me, Mom. He stole my childhood. When I was growing up, I felt unloved, used, and so no good. For years I hated him and wanted him to die. I cried myself to sleep at night, asking God why. Why did he allow my dad to hurt me in that way? I waited years for God to answer, but he never uttered a word. I asked God how a mother could turn a deaf ear and a blind eye and watch her daughter be abused, ignore the tears she cried. I lost all my self-esteem, became promiscuous as a teen. I desperately wanted to wake up and find that this was all one bad dream. So Mom, you no longer have to wonder why. On special occasions, I simply stayed away, or how I could never form my lips to say Happy Mother's Day. Truthfully, I actually hated you, Mom, the exact same way. But one night while I was crying, I heard a voice call out to me. He said he was the voice of God, and I quickly dropped down to my knees. As I began to pray, I felt a peace come over me. The voice said, my child, I have never ever left thee. I know that you've been hurt by the pain your father and mother caused, but mute your anger for just a moment and put your unforgiveness on pause. He said, there is no excuse for what your father has done. But his sins, just like yours, were nailed in the hands of my son. You see, your father came to me, repenting of his wrong, and I forgave him for all his sins the day I called him home. He asked me on his dying bed to help your heart to heal, and he prayed that one day your heart would be able to forgive. Your mother never told you, but she was also sexually abused. She turned her head in silent shame because she didn't know what to do. So my child, that little girl inside, who has held on to a life of pain, I am releasing you. It was not your fault, so please dismiss all shame. When I awakened the next morning, a burden was lifted. I felt so relieved. I surrendered my life to Christ that day, and I went to my father's grave. I told him how sorry I was for not being there when he died. I had so many mixed emotions. I forgave him. I just stood right there and cried. By God's grace, I forgave him for all the hurt he had done. It finally set me free. I also forgive you, Mother, on this Mother's Day. So now you too can rest in peace. Thank you. I dedicate this poem to all the women and young girls who have been sexually abused by their fathers or at the hands of someone they trusted. And that pain, although it happened when they were little girls, oftentimes when they grow up and become grown women, that little girl inside still cries, still feels ashamed and guilt for a pain that was caused by someone she trusted who was supposed to protect her. So I say to all the women and young girls, if this is you, know that it is not your fault and that God too was watching over you. And He will use that pain that you endured to bless someone else who may be walking in those shoes that you no longer wear. Thank you for letting me share this. I pray for you.